People love to give fake advice. They say, just be confident, or don't care what others think. But those words are too easy. They sound nice, but they do not help when your heart feels heavy. The real truth is this: confidence is not a loud voice. It is the quiet courage to stay yourself when the world wants to change you. And few people show this better than Billie Eilish. Billie became famous very young. She sang songs that sounded soft, dark, and real. Her music did not try to be perfect. It tried to be honest. And because of that honesty, millions listened. But fame is not freedom. When you are in front of the world, every move is judged. People talk about your clothes, your body, your words. They build you up and then tear you down. And this happens not only to stars, it happens to everyone. In school, in work, even in families, people want to tell you who to be. Think about it. How often do you hide a part of yourself to please others? How often do you smile when you want to stay silent? That is the quiet pain of being human. We want to belong, but we also want to be free. Billie Eilish did not follow the usual path. She wore what she wanted: loose clothes, strange colors, big feelings. Some people called her brave. Others called her strange. But she kept walking her own road. Her story teaches an important lesson in English and in life. You do not need to shine like others. You just need to be real. Real words. Real emotions. Real choices. Let's slow down for a moment. Ask yourself, when was the last time you felt truly yourself? No mask. No act. No fear. Maybe it was when you were alone at night, listening to a song that understood you. Maybe it was when you were with someone who accepted every side of you. That is the feeling of truth. That is what we all search for. There is a small story I want to share. A girl named Mia loved to sing, but she was afraid. Her voice was soft, not powerful like the one she heard online. One day, she listened to Billie's early song, Ocean Eyes. It was quiet, tender, and full of emotion. Mia cried. Not because it was sad, but because she felt seen. She realized that her voice did not have to be loud to be strong. It just had to be honest. That is the power of Billie Eilish, and of any person who chooses truth. When you speak or create with honesty, you give others permission to do the same. You become a mirror that shows people their real face. Learning English can feel similar. Many learners try to sound perfect. They hide their mistakes, afraid of being judged. But the best English does not come from fear. It comes from expression. When you speak with feeling, your English grows naturally. Every mistake becomes part of your story. Billie's journey reminds us that perfection is not beauty. Emotion is. So, when you study, when you speak, when you live, be emotional. Let your words come from your truth. You may lose some people on the way. That is fine. The wrong ones will leave when you stop pretending. The right ones will stay when you finally become yourself. Think about that the next time you feel pressure to act like someone else. Being yourself is not always comfortable, but it is always powerful. It is the only way to find peace. When Billie Eilish first stepped onto a big stage, she looked nothing like the others. She wore baggy clothes, moved slowly, and sometimes didn't even smile. Some people said she looked bored. But she wasn't bored, she was calm. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was just being Billie. And that is rare. Most people spend their lives performing. They wake up, wear the right mask, and play their daily role. They smile when they want to cry. They agree when they want to say no. They follow the noise because silence feels scary. But silence is where truth lives. Silence is the place where you meet yourself. Billie showed that you don't have to fill every space with sound or smiles. You can be quiet and still be powerful. You can whisper and still be heard. Think about your own voice, not only your speaking voice, but your inner one. That small, honest voice that tells you when something feels wrong or right. Do you listen to it? Or do you hide it under other people's opinions? When you ignore that inner voice, you lose your balance. You start living by someone else's rules. You start doubting your own feelings. And that's when peace disappears. Let's imagine another story. There's a boy named Daniel. He works in an office where everyone tries to look confident. They talk loudly, dress sharply, and never admit weakness. Daniel is different. He's quiet, thoughtful, and sometimes anxious. One day, his manager laughs at him during a meeting for being too soft. Daniel feels small, embarrassed, and angry. He wants to fight back but stays silent. That evening, he watches an interview with Billie Eilish. She says, "I don't need to be like anyone else to be good enough." Daniel writes that line on a small piece of paper and keeps it in his wallet. Every time he feels pressure to change, he reads it again. Little by little, he stops apologizing for who he is. He starts speaking softly, but clearly. He starts walking his own rhythm. And soon, people notice his quiet strength. This is the kind of strength that doesn't shout. It simply stands. It says, "I am here. I am real." Now, think about your own life. Are there moments when you pretend to be stronger or happier than you feel? Are there times when you hide your real thoughts just to fit in? That is what most of us do. But real peace begins when you stop pretending. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to smile all the time. You don't have to meet anyone's idea of beautiful or successful. The people who truly care for you will not need perfection. They will need truth. Billie often talks about her mental health. She speaks about sadness, anxiety, and self-doubt. Many artists hide these things, afraid to look weak. But she opens the door. She turns her pain into music. That honesty helps others breathe. In English, and in life, this honesty is the real fluency. Fluency is not only speaking fast or with perfect grammar. It's expressing your real self without fear. It's saying, "This is how I feel," in your own words. It's finding the courage to be simple and sincere. So, when you learn English, remember Billie's way. Don't try to sound like someone else. Don't copy the accent or emotions of another person. Speak as you. Your rhythm. Your tone. Your truth. When you do that, your English becomes alive. It stops being a school subject. It becomes a mirror of your soul. That is what language is for, to connect truth to truth, heart to heart. Not to impress, but to express. Let's go deeper. What happens when you finally start being yourself? At first, it feels beautiful. Then, it feels lonely. You see, when you stop pretending, some people will not understand. They like the version of you that stayed quiet, polite, or small. When you change, they feel uncomfortable. They might step back. They might say, "You've changed." But that is not something to fear. Change is proof that you are growing. The people who truly care for you will not leave. They will grow with you. Billie once said she lost many friends after becoming famous. Not because she wanted to, but because the connection changed. She was learning to protect her peace. And peace sometimes means distance. Think about that. Peace is not always soft or easy. Sometimes peace means walking away. Sometimes peace means saying no even when your heart feels heavy. Because staying true to yourself is not selfish, it's survival. Let's picture another story. A woman named Sophia always tried to please everyone. At work, she stayed late because she couldn't say no. With friends, she agreed to plans she didn't want. With family, she smiled even when she was exhausted. One night, while listening to Billie Eilish's "Everything I Wanted," she began to cry. The lyrics spoke about falling but still being loved. She realized that she had been living for approval, not for peace. The next morning, Sophia made one small change. She said, "No, thank you," to a project she didn't want. Her voice shook, but she said it anyway. And for the first time in years, she felt light. That's how change begins, quietly, honestly, one word at a time. A small no. A simple truth. A slow return to yourself. In English, too, power lives in small words. You don't need big, complicated sentences to express something deep. You can say, I'm tired. You can say, I don't agree. You can say, I want peace. These words are simple, but they carry truth. And truth has energy. Many people think strength means control, but real strength means clarity. Knowing what you want. Knowing what you feel. Knowing when to stop. Billie Eilish learned this early, to protect her mind, to set boundaries, to rest when needed. She taught her fans that rest is not weakness. It is part of the rhythm of life. We all need that rhythm. We need time for noise and time for silence. Time for action and time for reflection. If you always push, you will break. If you always rush, you will lose meaning. Peace grows only in balance. So pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself quietly, what do I need right now? Not what others expect. Not what the world demands. But what your heart truly needs. Sometimes, the answer will be simple: sleep, calm, or space. Sometimes, it will be complex: change, courage, or forgiveness. Whatever it is, listen to it. Trust it. Your heart speaks a language older than words. That is what Billie Eilish reminds us through her music. She turns her private thoughts into shared emotion. She gives her fear a melody, her sadness a rhythm, her truth a home. That is the art of being real, turning pain into connection. And you can do that, too. You don't need a stage or an audience. You only need awareness. You can express truth through words, music, writing, or silence. The form doesn't matter, the honesty does. So, let your English be your small stage. Use it to understand yourself better. Use it to speak gently but clearly. Every word can be a step toward freedom. There is another truth we can learn from Billie Eilish. You don't need to grow fast to grow deeply. In today's world, everyone wants results now. More followers, more success, more applause. But real growth is quiet. It takes time. Billie's songs often move slowly. They don't rush to the high notes. They build softly, layer by layer, emotion by emotion. And that is how life works, too. You can't rush self-understanding. You can only live it. Think about how you learn English. Some days, you feel progress, words flow easily, thoughts feel clear. Other days, you feel stuck. You forget words, make mistakes, lose motivation. That's normal. That's part of the rhythm. Even Billie, who seems so sure on stage, has said she feels lost sometimes. Everyone does. The important thing is not to stop. To keep walking. To accept that learning, whether language or life, is a slow dance, not a race. Imagine a small plant growing in a dark room. You can't see it change each day, but it is growing quietly. Its roots go deeper before the flowers appear. That's you. Every time you read, listen, speak, or reflect, you grow, even if no one sees it. Billie Eilish became a symbol of emotional honesty not because she shouted, but because she kept being real even when people didn't understand her. That's what gives her songs their power, a mix of vulnerability and quiet strength. Now, let's pause and think. Where in your life can you be more honest? Where are you still pretending everything is fine? Maybe it's time to stop saying, I'm okay, when you're not. Maybe it's time to say, I need help, or I need space. These small sentences may feel scary, but they are doors to freedom. Every time you speak truth, you take back a part of your power. Let's look at another story. There was a teenager named Kai who loved drawing. But when he posted his art online, people made fun of it. They said it was too simple, too dark, too weird. He stopped drawing for months. One day, he watched a behind-the-scenes video of Billie making her album When We All Fall Asleep. Where Do We Go? She said she made most of it in her bedroom with her brother. No big studio, no perfect plan, just creativity and emotion. Kai picked up his pencil again. He realized that art doesn't have to please everyone. It only has to express something true. And that is a beautiful lesson for anyone learning English. Your words don't have to be perfect. They just have to be yours. Speak with heart, not fear. Because someone, somewhere, might need to hear the exact way you say something. Your simple words might touch another heart. Billie once said in an interview, "I used to think I needed to look like everyone else to be liked. Now I just want to feel good being me." That is not arrogance. That is self-acceptance. It's the quiet peace that comes from no longer fighting yourself. So, when you wake up tomorrow, try to live a little more like that. Don't rush to please. Don't chase perfection. Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. Take a breath. Let your heart slow down. This moment, right now, is your stage. You don't need lights or applause. You just need awareness, the courage to say, "I am here. I am enough." That is the most fluent sentence you can ever speak. And when you believe it, every other word begins to sound more beautiful. Let's talk about darkness, the part of life that most people try to hide. Billie Eilish never hides it. She sings about fear, sadness, pressure, and loss. Her songs are not always happy, but they are always real. And that honesty brings light. In many interviews, she said that people used to worry about her lyrics. They thought her songs were too dark. But she explained that writing them helped her survive those feelings. She was not spreading pain, she was releasing it. We can all learn from that. When you hide your pain, it grows in silence. When you name it, it starts to heal. Pain loses power when it becomes a story you can tell. Think about your own struggles. Maybe you are learning English and feel frustrated. Maybe you are facing loneliness or doubt. Instead of fighting those feelings, speak them. Say, "I feel tired." Say, "I'm scared." Say, "I want to try again." Simple sentences, real emotions. This is how healing begins. Billie once said that writing songs saved her life. But you don't have to be a musician to do the same. You can write your truth in a notebook, in a message, or in your mind. You can talk to a friend, or even to yourself. What matters is expression. Because silence can be heavy, and words make it lighter. Let's picture another story. A young man named Leo moved to another country for work. He didn't speak English well and often felt invisible. At lunch, people talked fast, and he couldn't follow. He smiled, nodded, and stayed quiet. At night, he listened to Billie Eilish songs while walking home. He didn't understand every word, but he understood the emotion. He felt connected, not by grammar, but by feeling. That connection gave him courage. He started writing short English sentences about his day. Each line was simple but true. Today I felt alone. Today I tried again. Today I learned a new word. Over time, those sentences became a diary, a small, quiet map of growth. Language and emotion are deeply connected. When you grow in one, you grow in the other. That is why English learning should never be cold or mechanical. It should be alive, full of your real thoughts and feelings. Don't just memorize words. Use them to tell your story. That's how language becomes part of your soul. Billie Eilish is loved by so many people not only because of her voice, but because of the way she makes pain sound beautiful. She doesn't hide sadness behind fake smiles. She looks at it, touches it, and turns it into art. That's emotional strength, not denying your feelings, but transforming them. Think about it. Strength is not the absence of pain. It's the ability to stay soft while you feel it. To say, "This hurts," and still move forward. To cry, but not give up. To rest, but not quit. That is the kind of strength that lasts. And that's the kind of English learning that lasts, too. When you study from fear, your progress fades quickly. When you study from feeling, from love, curiosity, and truth, your words stay with you. So, the next time you listen to a Billie Eilish song, don't just focus on the melody. Listen to her voice, the quiet pain, the strength underneath. Feel how simple words can carry deep meaning. Let that guide your English and your heart. Because learning a language is not only about communication. It's about understanding what it means to be human. And humans, like songs, are made of both light and dark. In the end, Billie Eilish's story is not just about music. It is about truth, the quiet, difficult kind that changes a life. She reminds us that strength does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it simply breathes and says, "I am still here." You don't need fame to live this truth. You only need presence, the decision to meet yourself honestly each day. To wake up and say, "Today I will not pretend." To speak with clarity. To act with care. To choose peace over noise. Billie grew up surrounded by expectations. People told her who she should be, how she should dress, how she should sound. But she learned to say no, not with anger, but with quiet certainty. And that is something we can all learn. You don't have to fight the world to stay yourself. You just have to stay calm enough not to lose your center. Think about how powerful that is. You can be gentle and still strong. You can be humble and still confident. You can move slowly and still arrive. The world may try to rush you, shape you, judge you. But peace lives in the person who refuses to hurry their soul. Take a moment now and reflect. What part of yourself have you been hiding? What truth have you been afraid to speak? It might be something small, a dream, a feeling, a need. Whatever it is, bring it to light. Give it a name. That small act of honesty is the beginning of freedom. There's one more story to end with. A woman named Hannah worked as a teacher. She loved her students but often felt invisible. At home, she stayed quiet while others spoke over her. One night, she watched a live performance of Billie Eilish singing Happier Than Ever. Halfway through the song, Billie's voice changed. Soft became powerful, gentle became fierce. Hannah felt something inside her shift. The next morning, she looked in the mirror and whispered, "It's my turn to speak." She didn't shout. She didn't argue. She simply began to live with more truth, saying what she meant, resting when she needed, and creating small moments of peace. Her life did not become perfect, but it became real. That is the quiet revolution this story invites. Not a revolution of noise, but of honesty. Not the search for applause, but for calm. Not the goal of perfection, but of wholeness. When you live like that, your English and your heart change together. You stop learning words just to impress. You start using them to connect. You say thank you with more warmth, sorry with more depth, yes and no with more truth. Your language becomes alive because it carries who you really are. So as this guide ends, take this with you. The greatest lesson from Billie Eilish is not about fame or music. It's about being brave enough to be simple, soft enough to stay human, and strong enough to stay kind in a loud world. Every time you choose honesty, you build peace. Every time you express emotion, you build strength. Every time you stay true, you build freedom. And that's what this journey, in English, in life, is really about. So breathe deeply. Forgive yourself for the times you hid. Forgive others for not understanding. Then walk forward, quietly and clearly. You are already enough. You don't need to perform to be worthy. You don't need to change to be loved. You just need to stay real. Stay calm. Stay true. Stay free.